Hi, my name is Brandon Marin, and in this video I'm going to be bringing you some tips and tricks on acoustic guitar. And today I want to talk about the trick of a capo, and this is a capo here. I always have a capo anywhere I go. Try to never get caught without one if I can help it. And capo is something I use all the time. Every once in a while I've heard some bad comments about a capo, or sometimes capo gets a little bit of a bad rap, that it can be like cheating, or maybe it's compared to like the transpose button on a keyboard or something like that. And I do agree that a capo can be used as a crutch. So if you're not careful, you could rely too heavily on a capo, maybe not learn how to play those one or two extra chords, or not want to play in a certain key, because you can just put a capo on and play in another one. So there may be some truth to that. But overall, I really think a capo is an important tool when it comes to playing guitar, and I hope I can kind of talk you through that in this video today, and show you some ways, some tips and tricks that you can utilize a capo that can really help you, that can help the song. And the goal is just ultimately at the end of the day to play the song as well as you can play it. And I think there's a lot of times where a capo can really help you accomplish that goal of playing the song just really the best way that it can be played. So to start, I just want to play a chord progression, and I'm going to be playing this to start off with in the key of F. So I'm going to play an F, which is the 1 chord, and then I'm going to go to a C, which is the 5 chord, to a D minor, which is the 6 chord, and then a B flat, which is the 4 chord. So if I played that progression, so that's the progression in F. It doesn't necessarily sound bad. I think it sounds okay. I played all of the chords pretty clearly. I think they were all chorded well, no like fret buzzing or anything like that. So I don't think it necessarily sounded bad. But if I put a capo on my first fret, we know that this is an F, which is what we just played. So if I'm playing the key of F, my root note is on the E string first fret, which is an F. But if I put my capo on the first fret, now, without pressing anything down, my open E string is now in F. By placing the capo there, it's pressing the fret number 1 for me, and now what was once an open E is now an open F. So if I play in the key of E now, I can play in a E formation, but play in the key of F. So I can play the progression that I just played: 1, 5, 6, 4. I can play those same chords, but in a different formation, now in an E formation with a capo, but be playing in the key of F. So that would sound something like this. So that was the same progression that we just played in F, except we put a capo on the first fret and we played it in the E formation. In my opinion, I think playing that progression in E formation sounds a little bit better. I think the chords sound a little bit fuller. So instead of like in F, we had to play a couple of bar chords, and a bar chord is just kind of where we have to bar the whole fret with a finger in order to accomplish the chord shape. So you can see here I'm barring the whole first fret in order to get that F. And then for the same thing with the B flat, I had to bar all the way from the A string to get that B flat. So typically when you play bar chords, they're just going to sound a little bit more muted than a big open chord, because you're fretting them with your finger. when I play in Capo 1, I am fretting 3 notes and the other notes are open. So it sounds a little brighter, a little fuller, it rings out a little bit more than when I played the same chord in the key of F. Another thing is by playing in this E formation, the E and the B on these 2 notes on top here can kind of stay the same throughout this progression. So on the 1 chord, the 5 chord, the 6 chord, and the 4 chord, those 2 notes on top are remaining the same, and so it gives some continuity to the chord progression, helps the chords, I think, flow together a little bit more than by playing in F. So I think that's just one example of, I can play that 1, 5, 6, 4 progression in the key of F, and it sounds okay, it sounds fine, doesn't sound bad, but I just think when you put the capo on and you play in an E formation, instead of playing in an F formation without a capo, I think it just sounds a little bit better, a little bit cleaner, a little bit fuller. The chords sound a little bit prettier and go together a little more continuous chords by the way that you're shaping the chords in E formation. So another thing when it comes to capo is sometimes it doesn't necessarily sound better one way or another. And so it can really just be a preference. A good example of this is, say the song is in the key of C. So I'll play that same progression, 1, 5, 6, 4 in the key of C. So I'll play that in the key of C. Sounds really good, really nice open chords. I think it sounds great. If I come up here to Capo 5 and I play now in G formation, I can play that same progression, Capo 5 in G formation now by using these chords in G. And again, I think that sounds pretty good. Chords are pretty open, pretty full. There's good continuity, I think, between the chords. It doesn't sound choppy. So I think this progression sounds great in C and it sounds great in G. So again, it really just goes back to what shape or what formation are you going to play that's just at the end of the day going to make the song sound the best that it can sound. And so if the acoustic is maybe highlighted a little bit more, maybe if say the verses are driven by the acoustic, maybe you would want to play up on Capo 5, and since you're up a little higher on the neck, you're just playing higher on the neck. The tone of your strings and the tone of the chords are a little bit higher, and it might just allow you to kind of cut through the mix of the band a little bit better. So this is going to kind of be the predominant. That's going to be the predominant feel throughout those 4 chords in a Capo 5 versus a. So you can just hear in E, it's just a little bit lower, has just a little bit of a different sound, texture, frequency to it than those notes up there a little higher. So it can just be a preference thing. It can be how the guitar is going to serve the song, what kind of role the guitar is playing in the context of the full band. So there's a few different things that you can accomplish by using a capo. And again, I think it's a very important tool. I think it's a useful tool. I think if it's utilized correctly, it can really take a song to the next level on the acoustic guitar, versus having to kind of just settle and playing it in a certain key or settle and playing it in a certain formation and not having the flexibility that you would by utilizing a capo. The last thing I want to talk about with a capo, a lot of times people ask me, well, if I'm using a capo, how do I know what key I'm in? So that's kind of how I want to end off today. So we talked about in the example of F and E. So if I'm playing an F chord with no capo, my root note again is on the 1st fret on the E string, which I know that this is an E note. So by putting the capo on, instead of my root note being there in an F formation, Now, capo 1, if I'm playing an E chord, my root note is on an F because it's capo 1. In the same way, if I wanted to play in the key of G, I know that my root note for G is on the 3rd fret. So in order to play in the key of G but play in E formation, I would want to put my capo on the 3rd fret because now my root note of an E chord is a G. So I'm going to be playing in E formation but in the key of G. Back to our other example, if I'm playing a C, I know that my root note for a C is on the A string 3rd fret. So this is my C. So if I wanted to play in the key of C but play in a G formation, how would I accomplish that? Well, if I look at my G shape, this would be the root note of my G. So how do I get that root note on a C? So I want to find where the C note is on my 1st fret. So that's my C note on my A string. But I want to find where the G note is on my 1st string, pardon me, not my 1st fret. I want to find where the G note is on my 1st string, and that happens to be up here on the 8th fret. So if I put my capo on capo 5 and I play my G formation, my G root note here is going to fall on that 8th fret. And since that 8th fret is a C, I'm going to be playing in the key of C. So this is a C, but with a capo 5 G formation. So I'm playing a G, but notice that chord is the same chord as a C. C, C. So it's all about knowing where your chord structure is, what the root note of your chord is, and then if you can make that root note either raise or lower to the root note of the key that you want to be in, that's kind of how you can tell where your capo should go. I hope that makes sense. So a couple more examples. So again, if I'm in open C, this is my formation. My ring finger is playing the 3rd fret on the A string, which is a C. Now if I go capo 1, my ring finger is playing the root note, which is now the 4th fret instead of the 3rd fret, which is going to be a C sharp or a D flat. So if I play capo 1 C, I just went from C to C sharp or D flat by putting the capo on the 1st fret. Now let's slide it up again, playing the same formation. Now instead of my root note here with my index finger being on the 3rd fret like it was when I didn't have a capo, now it's shifted up 2 notes and the root note falls on a D. So if I wanted to play a D but in C formation, I would play capo 2. And that goes all the way up the neck. So the next capo 3 would be E flat or D sharp. Capo 4 would be E. My root note is here on the 7th fret on the A string, which is an E. And then all the way up to the 5th fret, which would be all the way back to that F that we played originally. So, bringing us full circle, I could play a song that's in the key of F by playing in just a natural F formation. I could play that in the key of E by putting on my capo on the 1st fret and playing in an E formation. Or I could play that in the C formation by putting my capo on the 5th fret and playing in C. Those are all ways to play in the key of F, but being able to play different formations utilizing a capo. So I hope this trick of a capo helps you and is valuable to you and something that you can take back and use and help you in your acoustic guitar playing.